the former President of South Africa, His Excellency THABO MVUYELWA.
Comrade President, you know very well that in terms of our culture, I cannot speak after you've spoken. And therefore I will not speak. But Comrade President and Minister of Ekofu, other ministers from Zimbabwe, the region, Ambassador Julian Milovanovic, the distinguished leaders who are here, distinguished delegates. One of the occasions I was here at Victoria Falls was in April 2000. I came here as part of a SADC delegation which included the presidents, then presidents, Joachim Son of Namibia, Mozambique, and Seminole of Namibia. And we came here to talk to President Mugabe. And what we were trying to do was to suggest to him as a region that the land issue should be handled in a different way. You remember what was happening in this country at that time. And we were taught as a region that yes, indeed, it was absolutely imperative that the land reform must happen in this country, but handled in a different way. And we were taught it would be possible to encourage countries that had come to this country in 1998 to a conference that was convened to discuss land questions, and they made commitments in that regard. We thought we could convince them that they should meet those commitments so that the important process of addressing land question in this country would be addressed in a different way. But we failed. We failed because we could not persuade these Western countries to keep to the commitments that they had made. And so indeed, it was inevitable that Zimbabwe should have dealt with this question in the way that they did. We as a region, and indeed as South Africans in particular, were very moved to see the success of that process. In part because it's an outstanding act of African solidarity. The government of this country had decided to delay the land reform process in this country when it could have embarked on that process from 1990 onwards, given that the Lancaster House Constitution, the restrictions imposed by that Constitution on the land question had come to an end. But President Mugabe and the rest of the leadership of this country decided to delay that action. And the reason for it was because they were saying it would be important to allow the process of change in South Africa to take place. And therefore that Zimbabwe, it was important that Zimbabwe shouldn't do anything that would frighten the white South African population against change. And so when we thought we should engage Zimbabwe years later to say, let's handle this matter differently. It was not to say the matter should not be handled. We understood very well that the process of reform, rather than the revolutionary transformation of the inherited colonial system of land ownership, meant that the people of Zimbabwe and the government would have to respect the principle of market-based compensation of landowners for improvements on the farms they would have to forfeit. I'm saying that SADC took this position because we feared that as a region and as a continent, we didn't have the strength to oppose and defeat what we knew would be great resistance to that process of land reform. But whatever we might have honestly communicated to Africa and the rest of the world at the end of April, of that April 2000 Victoria Falls meeting between our SADC delegation and President Mugabe, the historical record is that the sister people of Zimbabwe succeeded to carry out the process of agrarian transformation, which has fundamentally corrected an historic injustice relating to land question in this country. Directly relevant to all of this, and contrary to what our fears were then, I would like to highlight the 2010 seminal book, Zimbabwe's Land Reform, Myths and Realities, written by British academic Ian Schoons and his Zimbabwe colleagues. And in essence, this well-researched treatise makes two important statements. One of these is that the agrarian revolution in this country has succeeded to transfer the land to the people. And the second is that the new system of land ownership favoring the peasantry has demonstrated its capacity successfully to address the issues of food security and the provision of the agricultural raw materials required by the manufacturing sector. An academic review of the Schoon's book said that the book challenged 5 myths about Zimbabwe's land reform through a detailed examination of field data. Myth 1 was that land reform had been a total failure. Myth 2 was that the beneficiary had been largely political cronies. Myth 3, that there is no investment in the new settlements. And Myth 4, that agriculture is in complete ruins, creating chronic food insecurity. And Myth 5, that the rural economy has collapsed. That same academic review says that Professor Bill Kinsey of the Free University of Amsterdam recommended to the readers of the book that, quote, whatever you thought about the land issue in Zimbabwe, be prepared to change your mind. As the Zimbabwe agricultural agrarian revolution ran its course, our task as the political leadership of our region focused especially on our obligation to defend the right of the people of Zimbabwe to decide what they should do to resolve the land question, and therefore inevitably to defend their fundamental rights to self-determination. I must make, in this regard, I must make the point that Ian Schoons and his colleagues and other objective observers have made a correct and important observation that further to build on what has been achieved in this country in terms of successfully transferring the land to those who work it, a serious effort must be made to support the new farmers with all-around assistance. Certainly the delegates present here from Zimbabwe and the rest of our region will recall vividly that essentially because of the Zimbabwe agricultural revolution, and as we feared when we met here with President Bale in April 2000, a veritable global and sustained political firestorm broke out, seeking to incinerate the government of Zimbabwe, as well as those of us who were seen as defenders of that agrarian revolution. Accordingly, for many years now, various important political players in the world, as well as significant sections of the global media, have presented Zimbabwe as a rogue state within our region and in Africa as a whole. And this narrative was advanced to place on the global agenda, the global political agenda, the fundamental proposition that because Zimbabwe was such a rogue state, it was perfectly legitimate to use all means to overthrow the government, thus to effect necessary regime change in this country. And it was clear to all of us in the region, to the political leadership, to the people, that the determination by some from somewhere else in the world to effect this regime change in Zimbabwe had to do with fundamentally undermining and weakening the historically and strategically important right of the people of Africa to self-determination. Taking into account that Zimbabwe will have to hold its next elections next year, I would like to believe that the Zimbabwe political parties will recall the agreement that Minister Kofu referred to as now, the global political agreement, in which they made various commitments, in fact, to demonstrate that this country is not a rogue state, but a democratic country. We have convened here to discuss matters that relate to diamonds. I can therefore imagine that some among us here tonight would have wondered why I spent so much time talking about other matters, including the politics of our region of even more than a decade ago, without so much as a casual mention of the word diamonds. I must therefore explain that I've spoken as I have, because we're meeting at the Zimbabwe Diamond Conference, not any other diamond conference. As I'm certain we all know, in the very short years since Zimbabwe started mining and exporting diamonds, this has generated much international debate that I believe has been unjustifiably hostile to Zimbabwe, and which has sought to use the Kimberley process incorrectly to classify the Zimbabwe diamonds as black diamonds, which should therefore not be traded internationally. Last year, on the 13th of April, I was privileged to address the President's meeting of the World Federation of Diamond Horses in Dubai. I see Peter Mills, I see our colleagues from Dubai were here. And I beg your indulgence to quote what I said then 18 months ago, which I believe remains relevant to this day. I said then that I'm certain that is a positive response to Africa's call focused on helping to create the African Lions, of which the 2010 McKinsey report spoke, through adding value to these raw diamonds, would both benefit the diamond industry as a whole and reinforce the growth and development of the global economy. And I said, I'm equally certain that everybody concerned should take seriously Africa's views about the then current standoff in the Kimberley process centered on issues of our diamonds. And I said one of the critical points to bear in mind in this regard was the fact that the core objective of the Kimberley process to end the practice of the use of illegally mined diamonds to fund and prolong deadly wars was of primary concern to us as Africans, first and foremost. And I said Africa's determination in this regard has not diminished. And I was therefore certain that Africa, including the African Diamond Producers Association, would not support or advocate the production and sale of diamonds, especially African diamonds, contrary to the spirit and purposes of the Kimberley process. I said it would, and that I was certain that it would not help anybody that the Kimberley process is politicized to advance objectives other than those originally agreed at the diamond capital of South Africa, Kimberley, which gave its name to the Kimberley process. And then said which indeed should take on board the then chairperson of the Kimberley process, Minister Yamba from the Congo, DRC, who in notice of March 1990 had said that the cessation of exports in the Kimberley process certification system must be subjected to a more credible mechanism which includes verification of allegations and due process, point that has just been made by our current chairperson, Ambassador Milovanovic. And I said then I believe that it was exactly to ensure such verification of allegations as well as due process that the high-level delegation of the African Diamond Producers Association had visited Zimbabwe diamond fields earlier that month, led by our minister, South African Minister, Susan Shamaka. 8 months later, after I made these remarks in Dubai, and earlier this year, I was pleased to see media reports of important statements made by the esteemed chairperson, current chairperson of the Kimberley process. I refer here to what it was reported she said, and I hope, Ambassador, what I'm going to quote is correct. It was said that you said that the Kimberley process went through great difficulty, determining how to deal with the question of diamond exports from Zimbabwe, given violence and other matters. And it showed that there was a need to look at systems, to look at definitions, to look at ways to ensure that the lessons were drawn and that the organization could determine best ways to become more efficient and to remain relevant. That would include the definition of conflict diamonds. But at the same time, I'm told you said, the only country whose diamonds are fitting within the definition of conflict diamonds is diamonds from Cote d'Ivoire. And that represents overall far less than 1% of all diamonds. As I understand it, perhaps wrongly, those of us who are members of the Kimberley process are engaged exactly in the processes to which Chairperson Milovanovic referred when she spoke about the need to look at systems, to look at definitions, to look at ways to ensure that lessons are drawn, and that the organization would determine best ways to become more efficient and to remain relevant. In this regard, I'm certain that all of us understand and respect the fundamental practice in jurisprudence that are consistent with the principle of the rule of law. All law of general application, like the prescriptions of the Kimberley process, should not be written to target particular persons, countries, or entities. I say this because as Africans we should surely agree that we should look at the Kimberley process systems and definitions as urged by Chairperson Milovanovic. At the same time, in this regard, I'm certain that as Africans we should do everything possible to ensure that the Kimberley process is insulated from any political abuse and is therefore used to establish an equitable global assessment system consistent with the agreed goals of the process. And I'm certain that among others we will all work hard to ensure that the process is not misused to compromise the right of Africa as a whole, a major diamond producer, to the fundamental and inalienable right to self-determination and the right to development. In this context, I must also emphasize that as Africans, we must remain especially vigilant that the export of African diamonds does not open or widen yet another window to the immensely pernicious illicit outflows of capital from Africa. And I trust that all of us at this important Zimbabwe Diamond Conference will understand what I've just said with regard to both Zimbabwe and Africa as a whole about the absolute imperative we all share to end the illicit export of capital from our continent. I hope that you now understand why earlier I spoke to you about the matters not related to diamonds. I think all of us that know, all of us know that all manner of negative allegations have been made about diamond mining in Zimbabwe. No different in essence from the global political offensive which sought to oppose and defeat this country's agrarian revolution. Basing myself on my own experience, I would like to exploit the privilege I've been given by the Honorable Minister, Dr. Robert Mbofu, to say a few additional things as I speak at this conference. And I'm glad I'm speaking after both President Mugabe and the Minister Mbofu. The first of this is that I'm absolutely certain that the masses of our people throughout the entirety of this region are indeed very happy that the sister people of this country found yet another natural resource which can and should be used to ensure that our sister people achieve the sacred goal of a better life for themselves. In this regard, we really hope that this natural resource, Zimbabwe's diamond deposits, will be used genuinely to benefit the masses of the ordinary people. This must mean that this country's political leadership, as has been indicated already by the President and the Minister, must absolutely ensure that the diamond mining industry is not governed by a predatory elite which uses its access to state power to enrich itself against the interests of the people as a whole, acting in collusion with at least some of the mining companies. Accordingly, as has been indicated, the government of Zimbabwe surely is determined to do everything possible to ensure the greatest possible transparency about all matters relating to the mining and marketing of diamonds and the management and use of the results and financial resources, precisely because government would ensure that transparency, because from it has not been quiet. As has been indicated again, indeed the government has put in place very strict measures to combat any corruption that might arise related to the industry. And I've said this, and it has been said, because I have no doubt that there will be people, both from Zimbabwe and from elsewhere in the world, who will see the opportunity of the exploitation of Zimbabwe's diamond resources as for them a happy occasion for self-enrichment by corrupt means. I know that Zimbabwe, like much of our region, is rich in natural resources, in addition to the land and diamond resources we have spoken of this evening. And I've absolutely no doubt that Zimbabwe will evolve with one of the African lions, of which other objective observers have spoken, which will ensure that the people of this country achieve the objective goals of a sustained and comprehensive better life. Of critical importance, we will be with you, our Zimbabwe friends, to do what we can to support you as you handle your management of your natural resources, including land, diamonds, platinum, chrome, copper, coal, gold, and others of this country's many natural resources. For many years now, our region, through SADC, has called for the lifting of sanctions against Zimbabwe, which regrettably has not happened. Our region made this call not to advantage the ruling party in Zimbabwe, but to improve the socio-economic situation in the country in favor of the people as a whole. We acted as we did as the people in place who had intimate knowledge of the situation in our countries and our neighborhood. In this regard, we're very happy that earlier this year, the UN Commissioner for Human Rights, Judge Navi Pillay, also called for the lifting of the sanctions. The public position which many took relating to what Judge Pillay said about Zimbabwe confirmed to us as Africans to our regret that the issue of human rights in international politics, certainly as it relates to us, is little more than an instrument in a global political struggle weighted to undermine the assertion of our right to self-determination. Together, as a billion Africans, we believe that the Zimbabwe diamonds will help to achieve the important objectives of the development of this country, which will benefit our continent as a whole. I'm certain that both the Zimbabwe political leadership and the world political powers owe a sacred obligation to the people of Zimbabwe and Africa to ensure that this country's diamonds serve as the people's best friend. And I sincerely hope that all of us gathered here at this World Heritage Site will take the decisions we must, which will enable the peoples of Zimbabwe and Africa to acquire the benefit of the heritage of a better life, and thus defeat all ill-intentioned attempts to inject into the Kimberley process objectives inimical to its original and noble purposes. As Africans, we have no objection to the goal that Africa must succeed. as these Africans, including Zimbabweans, we cannot have any other objective than that Zimbabwe re-establish itself as one of the Africa's preeminent pioneer countries. So I'm saying to you Zimbabweans who are with us today, we have an obligation to live up to this task and therefore to honor what Africa has done to help guarantee your own right to self-determination in Africa's own interest. Whatever faults which as Africans we share with you, nevertheless we demand of you that you must at all times act in a manner that upholds and demonstrates our character as true and noble Africans. And I'm saying this because I know that the people of this country, the Zimbabweans, exactly intend that, to uphold and demonstrate our character as true and noble Africans. Thank you very much.